Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I am your host, Mariah Clayton, and happy Monday. I hope you all had a great 4th of July weekend. We really didn't do too much. Hold on, I'm trying to make sure the gain is not going to be blowing y'all's ears out. We really didn't do too much. We went to my Nana's house, barbecued a little bit. My sister had got some fireworks, but we were home before we even popped the fireworks because Ace is on a schedule and he's only down to one nap a day now. So by the time his bedtime comes, like, he is extremely tired because he's already been up for like 4, almost 5 hours sometimes. And yeah, he be ready to go to bed. So we didn't stay for the fireworks or anything, but we did end up coming back home, and Justin put some burgers and hot dogs on the grill for me because that was like the one thing my grandparents didn't have at their house was hamburgers and hot dog. And that's literally the one thing that I wanted. I'm like, how you have a 4th of July party with no hamburgers and no hot dogs? Like, come on now. Yeah, our weekend was pretty chill. I'm trying to think of where we last left off in last week's episode because I told y'all that we had our pageant, me and my sister. We had our Miss Greater Baton Rouge pageant, not this past weekend, but it must have been the weekend before. Yeah, because it was the last weekend of June that we had the pageant. And everything was so nice. It went so well. Like, honestly, could not have gone better. I'm so proud that, we were able to put it on. It was our first pageant ever, and it went pretty smooth. Like, everybody said that they enjoyed it, they had a good time, that everything went well, all the contestants had a great time. We have 2 new title holders, which is super exciting. So I feel like everything went the way that it was supposed to, and I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that we were able to actually like pull it off and accomplish it. And it makes me excited for next year's pageant. Definitely like a feat to put on. Like, it took a lot of work, it took a lot of effort, a lot of energy. I was very stressed, I was very overwhelmed, but like I said, everything just went beautifully, like, honestly. And I'm so happy with the way that everything turned out. I'm happy with our new title holders, and I'm excited for the year ahead that we're gonna have with them. If you guys couldn't tell by my voice, I am sick, and that is because literally we had the pageant on Saturday, June 29th. Sunday, I felt myself starting to get sick. Like, I kind of felt the beginning stages of me getting sick. And then Monday, I felt like I got hit by a train. Like, it was absolutely awful. I felt horrible. I was so congested. My head was throbbing. I was just down for the count. And Tuesday was no better. I was literally in this bed the whole day on Tuesday. Couldn't get up. Like, I just was not feeling great. Obviously, I'm like still congested now because you can hear it in my voice, but I'm feeling so much better. I'm a functional human being again, which is nice. So I don't really know what came over me. I think it was just because like all the stress and all the adrenaline had like caught up to me or something. Or I could have gotten sick from Ace, which is probably more likely. But the good news is, while I was sick and sitting in my bed, I got to finish my book, Kingdom of Ash. Y'all know I was reading the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And I'm so sad that it's over. Oh my gosh. I literally sobbed my way through the book. I was just crying nonstop. Like, I get so attached to characters. And I kind of envision myself like in their world. And so when things happen and people start dying and, like things don't go the way that I'm envisioning that they're going to go, I just get so emotional because I'm like, why? Why did this have to happen? I connect with characters like so closely. So it was definitely sad at some points. I definitely cried a lot, but I feel like the ending was so worth it. The whole series as a whole is incredible, amazing. Yeah, anyways, my friend recommended me a book because you guys know I wanted to read like a summer romance while it's obviously summer. And she recommended me the book 7 Days in June. So I think I'm going to read that book first. And then my other friend recommended me another summer romance book called Just for the Summer. But that one is actually, it's technically a standalone book, but there are 2 other books that kind of like are in the same world and universe. And Just for the Summer is the third one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read 7 Days in June first. And then I'm going to read like that little 3-part series that's not really a series. And then I'm going to get back into my fantasy land because I still have to read Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. And I have all 3 of those books already. So I'm excited to like read the last of the Sarah J. Maas universe and kind of just like complete it. But yeah, that's just my TBRs, you know, for the next few weeks, months, probably. Also, I know y'all still have my braids in. I was supposed to take them out last week, I know. But I was just so stressed with the pageant and with all the things. I was just like, I'm not going to stress myself out more by trying to take out these braids right now. So I just didn't. And then the campaign that I was supposed to film ended up getting pushed back. So I just left them in. But I'm actually going to be taking them out today after I finish recording this podcast episode while Ace is in school. And hopefully I can take them all out before I have to go and pick him up, or else I'm going to be looking crazy. But yeah, I don't want to stay in this intro for too long because I feel like this episode is going to be a long one. I don't have any notes. We are just freeballing here, and y'all know I can talk a lot when I don't have notes, when I don't have anything keeping me on schedule of what I'm supposed to say. We're just gonna dive right in to today's episode, which is all about the realities of unexpected pregnancies. We're gonna be talking about abortion. We're gonna be talking about all the things, okay? And this is my personal story. As y'all know, Ace was most definitely an unexpected pregnancy for me, but I've actually never shared this story before. I think literally only Justin knows everything because obviously he was there, but I feel like I've shared bits and pieces of my experience with pregnancy and it being unexpected, and my thoughts on abortion and things like that, but I've never fully dived into it and dedicated a full episode to it. So I feel like I just want to do that because this week on July 9th will actually be the 2nd anniversary of me finding out that I was pregnant. Okay, like it's 2 years that I sat on a toilet and peed on a stick, and my life changed forever in that moment. So I just kind of wanted to reflect on that day, reflect on that version of myself, reflect on my feelings, my emotions, just everything. Because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about what it's like when you don't want to be pregnant. A lot of times when we see people announcing their pregnancies and talking about pregnancies, it's something that they've wanted. It's something that they've dreamed about. It's something that they desire. And that just was not my story. I was very depressed throughout my pregnancy, had a lot of feelings of not wanting to be pregnant, of just struggling with every negative emotion that you can think of or imagine. So I really just want to highlight any women out there who might be struggling with this, who might be going through an unplanned pregnancy right now, unexpected pregnancy, and just feeling all these negative emotions, and you feel like you shouldn't be feeling them. But I want to validate you because your feelings are so valid, and what you're experiencing, no one else will understand unless they have experienced it also. We're gonna dive deep. I'm gonna try not to cry during this episode. But yeah, just I think it'll definitely be emotional for me looking back and thinking back on all of this whole time, you know. So anyways, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this episode so that we're not here for 2 hours. I just want to give a little bit of backstory, which I feel like most people know, but in case this is your first time listening to an episode, hi, welcome. I love you so much. I know we don't know each other yet, but I do love you. If this is your first episode that you're listening to, I kind of just want to give a little bit of a backstory on how I got pregnant because it's very unconventional the way that everything happened. So I ended up ending a 7-year relationship. I was in a relationship obviously for 7 years, like I just said, and we ended that relationship in April, probably a week after my birthday. And in May of that year, this is back in 2022, I ended up meeting Justin at a mutual friend's birthday party, and we just kind of like hit it off. I wasn't looking for anything too serious because, like I said, I had just gotten out of a 7-year relationship. So I was just trying to have a hot girl summer. I was just trying to flirt and have fun and be carefree. I really wasn't trying to be tied down like that. But anyways, I meet Justin, and he actually had just gotten out of something very serious as well. So we were both kind of in the same phase of life, not really looking for anything serious, just, you know, out here seeing what happens. But the day that we met, we actually just hit it off. We instantly connected, and he ended up following me on Instagram that day. I followed him back. he ended up DMing me, and from that day on, May 7th, we both remember the day. Like, we kind of joke and say that that's the day that we started dating, but it's really the day that we just kind of like, I don't even know, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, we had met May 6th and started talking to each other on May 7th. And from that day forward, it was just like, we never not talked to each other. Like, obviously we're here. So it's just crazy to think about. But yeah, we started texting, we started FaceTiming, we started seeing each other every day that week. Like I said, we just kind of hit it off. Our chemistry was there. Like, it was very unexpected. I don't think either one of us was expecting that to happen, but we both were just kind of like going with the flow of like, oh, we really like each other. So all of May and all of June, we're hanging out. We are getting to learn more about each other, kind of making it known that like we don't want the other person really talking to anyone else. We're both kind of cutting off people without even having to tell the other person, you know, like things were just kind of escalating very, very quickly. And there was just this instant spark between us. So obviously when that happens, you know, and you start falling hard and you start liking people, you start doing things that people who like each other do. That's kind of the best way that I can put it. So all of May and all of June, we just kind of like hang out and get to know each other. I'm at his house, you know, hanging out. So it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy to even say out loud, but that's just, we got to that level so fast. It comes a time where he actually has to go on a work trip to California. He ends up asking me to come. So of course I'm like, yes, like I want to be in California. I want to go take this trip with you. So we spend like a week out there in California. I end up flying back because I had a volleyball camp to do like the weekend of the 9th and the 10th of July, but he had to stay in California because, like I said, he was there for work, and we actually went out there early before he had to be there for work. So by the time I flew back, his work trip was technically just starting. I fly back July 8th. July 9th is the day that my entire life changed forever. Okay. So I actually had a podcast recording that day. And my period was supposed to start this day. And my period is very, very regular. Like, me and her are like this. I know when she's coming. I know when to expect her. She's hardly ever late. I'm going throughout the day just kind of thinking, well, if my period doesn't come by like 7 o'clock, 7:30, like I'll go and get a pregnancy test just to be safe. Like, I really didn't think that I was pregnant at this point, but I was like, just to be safe, because I've been having a little bit too much fun, like with Justin, you know, like, let me just go and get a test and rule that out, and so that I can know when to expect my period. Because if my period is late, it's usually 1 to 2, maybe 3 days late, but it's never more than 3. So, but I'm always nervous at the 1 because I'm like, what's going on, girl? Like, where you at? Why you not here? So I was living with my sister at the time. I go downstairs, I ask her if she wants anything from Sonic, because that was going to be like my cover to leave the house. Like, I'm literally, how old was I at the time? 26. I just turned 26, and I'm having to have a cover to go and get a pregnancy test. Like, what? So anyway, she was like, I don't want anything. So I still go to Sonic because I wanted Sonic. Like, I wanted to get some ice cream because I love their Snickers Sonic Blast. I would always get one like once or twice a week, not even joking. So I go to Sonic, I get my ice cream. I'm eating my ice cream in the car. I even took a video of me eating my ice cream in the car. Like, I was just so carefree. I was like, I'm about to go get this pregnancy test. It's going to be negative. Like, all is fine. I just need to rule this out. So I go to CVS, I pick up the test, I get back to my sister's house, go upstairs to my room, and I take this pregnancy test. And I am now about to show you guys the footage of me taking the pregnancy test. No one has ever seen this. I've never posted it anywhere. I don't even know why I recorded myself taking this pregnancy test, because I didn't think that it would be positive. I think that I was just recording it just because. I really don't know. Maybe intuitively I knew, but I don't know. I just turned on the camera and took a video of me taking the pregnancy test. So without further ado, here is the footage. I'm about to take a pregnancy test. My period is only 1 day late.
I'm paranoid as I'm also freaking terrified. So I just decided to get one. Let's see what it says. Hoping and praying to God that it says no. I've only taken one pregnancy test in my entire life. I was terrified. This is my second pregnancy test. And I am again terrified. Hopefully I pee on the friggin' stick. Okay. Well, that was fast. Okay, it says I'm not pregnant, which I really didn't think that I was, but no. No, 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 no. This shit is fucking positive. I can't do this.
I honestly cannot watch that video without laughing at myself a little bit. It was just so crazy the way that everything happened, because y'all saw, like, I was like, I peed on the stick and it started forming a line, and I was like, oh, that was fast. Like, because I thought that you had to wait like 2 or 3 minutes for a pregnancy test to tell you if you were pregnant or if you were not pregnant. So when it started like showing the line so soon, I was shocked. I was like, whoa, that was fast. But when it formed the one line, it was like the just one line that was across. And so I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not pregnant. I didn't think I was pregnant. I put the test down on the side of the tub. I'm trying to get myself together, pull my pants up. And then I glance over at the test again. And slowly but surely, another line is forming and it's going down to make a plus sign. And that's when you see me say, like, no, 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 no. And I'm just kind of like staring at the test because I'm in shock at what I'm looking at what is actually happening. And yeah, at that point, I was just kind of like freaking out, like, what the heck? Immediately start crying because I was not expecting this. I didn't think that this test was going to be positive, and I didn't think that it would turn positive so quickly. So immediately I call my aunt. She's the first one that I call. She's a labor and delivery nurse out in California. We had actually went to go and visit her while we were out there in California. And so she got to meet Justin. She was the first person in my family to meet Justin aside from my sister. And so I immediately call her and I tell her what's going on. And I'm like hysterical. I'm like, I cannot have this baby. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And at the time, if you guys remember, back in June, I believe, of 2022, they had just overturned Roe versus Wade. So states was making abortion illegal left and right, Louisiana being one of them, obviously. So I was just telling her, like, I cannot have this baby. Like, I don't want to have this baby. What do I need to do? And she was like, okay, well, I have some pills. You know, you found out really early, like you found out you're 4 weeks pregnant, like literally to the T. You still have a lot of time. So I have the pills, you know, if you want them. And I was just immediately like, yes, I want them. Like, what do you mean? This is not even a question. Like, I cannot have this baby. Like, hear me when I say, I cannot have this baby. My life will fall apart. So I told her, I was like, look, I have a volleyball camp this weekend in Houston. And she was like, okay, well, I'm actually flying back to Dallas tomorrow. So I was like, perfect. Like, I will drive to Dallas first, pick up the pills, circle around and drive to Houston, take them the night before I have this volleyball tournament. Like, I know I'll probably be in pain. I'll probably be cramping and bleeding and all the things, but like, it's fine. It'll be fine because I won't be pregnant. So I was just like, this is the plan. But while I'm on the phone with my aunt, Justin calls me, obviously, and I don't answer. And my aunt is like, if you tell him, he's going to try to convince you to keep this baby. Like, even just from that one day of meeting him, she knew that Justin was going to be like, we can keep this baby. So she was like, you need to decide if you want to tell him, because if you tell him, then technically, like, this is not just going to be your decision anymore. Like, he's gonna have a say in it, and he'll probably still let you make your own decision, but he's going to try to convince you otherwise. And I was like, I feel like I just have to tell him, because I'm a horrible liar. Like, I can't hide anything. And then obviously, like, this is something that is so big and extreme that, like, I just can't. I cannot hide it. So I called Justin back, and immediately he knows that something is wrong because my voice, and obviously I was crying, so he could hear it in my voice. He's like, what's wrong? Like, what were you talking to your aunt about? Because I had texted him and told him that I was on the phone with her. He's like, what were you talking to her about? And I just kind of told him, I was like, I'm pregnant. And he laughed. He literally started laughing, and he was like, you're joking. Like, this is not serious. So I FaceTime him and I show him the pregnancy test, and that's when it starts to sink in for Justin. And he's like, what? We were so careful. How did this happen? Like, going through the whole thing. And I was like, I don't know, but it happened. So here we are. And I ended up telling him the plan that I had conspired with my aunt. And I'm like, look, this is what we're going to do. Like, you don't have to worry. Like, it'll be fine. The problem will be solved over the weekend. No worries. And obviously he was just kind of like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, we can do this. Like, if you want to have this baby, like, I support you 100%. And I'm just like, I know that I don't want to have this baby. I cannot have this baby because I feel like my life is just starting, and adding a baby into the mix, and like, no, I just couldn't even fathom what my life would be like having a child, because I'm 26 years old. Like, what? Like, I know some of my peers are out here married and popping out babies left and right, but like, that's not me. And I don't want that to be me yet. We go back and forth. He's not trying to convince me one way or the other. He's just trying to tell me, like, look, if you want to have this baby, like, I will support us. Like, we have a house. You can move in with me. You don't even have to work. Like, he's selling me. And obviously that's his job. Like, he literally works in sales. So Justin definitely has the gift of gab, and he can convince anyone to do anything, in my opinion. And he was just making a very strong case for it. And he's just like, look, like, we can do this. I know that I want to be with you. I've known from the first day that, like, we were going to be together forever, and like, it too. So we can have this baby and it'll be fine. And I just kept telling him, like, I've literally only known you for 2 months. Like, yes, I felt it as well. Like, I kind of knew that, like, okay, this man is probably going to be my husband one day. But in your mind, like, it just sounds so crazy, because at the time we weren't even officially boyfriend and girlfriend. We were just kind of like exclusive, but it wasn't anything that was like official. So I was just like, this is crazy. Like, we both just got out of very serious relationships. We've only known each other for 2 months, and like, you're trying to convince me to keep this baby. Like, I cannot. We kind of talk about it and go through it. I end up going to sleep because I'm just like, I can't think about this anymore. I don't want to think about this anymore. I have to drive to Texas tomorrow. Like, let's just go to sleep. So basically, through the night, I ended up deciding not to get the pills, because I just really needed to like get to Houston. And I didn't really want to have to drive like 6 hours to Dallas, 4 hours to Houston. Like, it was just would have been a lot. Like, after I had thought about it a little bit more thoroughly, I was like, now this is not the best time for me to come and get these pills. Like, maybe you can just mail them to me or something. So she was like, that's fine, I'll just mail them to you. So that's what we ended up doing. So I ended up going to Houston. And I just remember feeling like scared. Like, I guess is the best word that I can say. I was just scared. I was nervous. I was not fully present. My mind was definitely not on volleyball at all. I was just kind of cruising through the weekend. But it was actually nice because Justin ended up flying back from California like that same weekend, and he had a layover in Houston. So he ended up just not getting on his connecting flight and Ubered to my hotel and stayed with me through the rest of the weekend. So I wasn't alone. Thankfully, I didn't have to go through all of these emotions by myself. I didn't have to cry at night by myself. You know, he was there with me, but it was still just so scary, and a constant back and forth of, should I keep the baby? Should I get an abortion? Like, what is going on? Because I just felt like I was not ready for a child, and I didn't think that I would be able to make my child happy, like if I were to continue to go through this pregnancy. Like I said, luckily I found out at 4 weeks, so I really did have a long time to think about what I wanted to do. Like, I think for the pills, you can't be more than 10 weeks pregnant, and then if you want to do like the actual surgery one, I think you have to be 13 weeks. So I had a lot of time, and I really just had to think through it. I had to talk to a few people and just kind of gauge on what I should do. But obviously everybody is like, I can't tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, like, this is your decision, and only you know if you will be able to live with the guilt of going through with an abortion or deal with the reality of like being a mother. And that's really what it boiled down to. Like, I was picking between two poisons. On the one hand, I could get an abortion and go on and live my life and do the things that I want to do. However, I would struggle mentally. I would struggle with guilt. I would struggle with regret. I would struggle with what ifs, you know, and I feel like that would have been torture in my mind, because growing up, everyone around me said, don't get abortions. Like, abortions are wrong. Abortions are killing babies. From the moment a baby is conceived, it's a living being. Like, you're a murderer, blah, blah, blah. Like, y'all know what people say. And so in my mind, before I even got pregnant, I never thought that I would ever think that I would get an abortion. Like, that just was never anything that crossed my mind before. But when you're in a situation where something happens unexpectedly, you start considering doing things that you would have never considered before, because you're in a state of panic. You're in a state of hysteria. You're in a state of shock. And it's just like, if something is happening to you unexpectedly and it's a big life change, like having a baby or something like that, then you would do anything to try and get your life to feel back normal again. And that's all I was trying to do, is I was just trying to get back to my life feeling like normal. I wanted to pretend that this never even happened, that it wasn't even an option to even think that I would have a child, you know? So I was just kind of trying to get back to normal, but there's really no going back. Like, once you find out that you're pregnant, there's really no going back. And you're only left with, like, obviously 3 options: abortion, keep it, or adoption. And either way, even if I chose keeping it or going with adoption, I was still going to have to carry the baby. I was still going to have to deliver the baby. And I think that's what I was most scared of, was like birth, labor and delivery. Okay. Like, I was just like, I don't know if I'd be able to do that, because yeah, on the one hand, like I said, I'd be struggling mentally with all the what ifs and everything. But on the other hand, I would be struggling physically. I would be struggling with people judging me. I would be struggling with being a mom, having to provide for a child and a human being for the rest of their life. Like, once you become a mom, there's no going back. Like, you now have to take care of this person for the rest of your life. And I know that, like, when they turn 18, they go whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, you are still a mother for the rest of your life. So it was just kind of, like I said, picking between these two poisons of, do I deal with the mental battle? Do I deal with this warfare that would go on in my mind if I were to abort this child? Or do I deal with the fact that, like, I'm about to have a baby with a man that I barely even know? I'm about to have a baby, and people are going to judge me. Maybe people are going to talk about me because I just got out of a relationship, and like, when did she meet him, and how did this, you know how people just talk and talk and talk. And I had these conversations with Justin. I'm like, this is what I'm feeling. And he's like, if you make the decision to abort this baby because you are scared of what other people are going to think about you, what other people are going to say about you, then you are making this decision for the wrong reasons. And he kept telling me that over and over and over again. He's like, Mariah, what do you want to do? You have to take out everything else. Stop thinking about what other people might think and think about what you truly want to do. What would you think of yourself if you were to have an abortion? This is something that you said you would never do. How would you feel? How would this impact you later on down the line? You know, and he really gave me a lot to consider and to think about. It was just a harsh reality to face, honestly. It was such a harsh reality to face. And I was scared to tell my parents. I was scared to tell my friends. I was scared to tell anyone because I just felt so much shame around the fact that, again, like, even all my life people told me not to have an abortion, but also all my life people told me not to have sex before a marriage. And even though maybe my parents knew that I wasn't a virgin and people knew that I wasn't a virgin, being pregnant is like tangible physical proof that you out here doing something that everybody said that you wasn't supposed to do. And so I felt all of that shame, all of that guilt, not just from my parents, but from God. I felt it from myself, from my conscience. Like, the amount of mental battles I was faced with during the early weeks of my pregnancy, I wouldn't want anyone to go through that. I was crying like every day, just trying to figure out what to do. Like, it was awful. And so when I decided to keep my baby, obviously I decided to keep my baby, y'all. He's living and breathing, okay? We know the end to the story, but I really just wanted to highlight the feelings that I felt during my unexpected pregnancy and what some other women might feel, you know, because yeah, you will feel shame. Probably you might feel shock. You might feel like you want to abort this baby. You might feel like you're going to hate this baby. Like, all of those emotions are so real and so valid, and all things that I felt. I was like, if I had this baby, I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to love this baby. I'm going to resent this baby because I'm going to feel like this baby took away parts and pieces of my life that I'll never be able to get back. I'll never get to be that same version of myself again because of this baby. You know, like, it's really hard to say that out loud. Like, wow, it's really hard to say that I felt like I would resent him for something that he didn't even do, you know? Like, at the end of the day, I think a lot of these feelings and emotions come from us personally because we're disappointed in ourselves, but we project it out onto everything else because we're trying to make sense of it, and we're trying not to hate ourselves. So we want to hate something else. We want to hate the people that judge us. We want to hate the baby that's inside of our belly. We want to hate, you know, the thoughts that we're having because we don't want to hate ourselves, and we don't want to, you know, pick apart our decisions and figure out exactly like, how did we get here? We don't want to dissect all of that. We don't want to go that deep, you know, so we try and project it out onto everyone and everything else to make ourselves feel better. But it's not going to change the reality of the situation, which is you got yourself in this predicament. Like, no matter which way you slice it, you got yourself here. Unless you were raped, unless you were literally taken against your will, that's the only thing that you don't have control over, right? That's the only thing that's technically unplanned. But if you lay down with someone, you know that there is always the possibility that you could get pregnant or you can get an STD, you know, like, you know what the risks are when you decide to lay down with someone and have unprotected sex. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. So at the end of the day, you can try and pin the blame on everyone else, but the blame is on yourself. And that's the harsh reality that I don't think we want to face with unplanned pregnancies and unplanned situations, is that we put ourselves in this situation that we're in right now. And for me, that was the hardest reality to accept because I knew it. I knew it back then, that this was all my fault. And I said that from the beginning. I'm like, if we would have used protection, if I would have got the plan B, if I would have done this, if I would have, like, trying to think of all the things that I could have done to prevent this from happening, but you can't go back in time. So for me, where a lot of my depression was coming from, where a lot of my resentment for my child was coming from, was because I knew that I put myself in this situation. I knew that I was the only one that got me here, basically. So it's just a harsh reality to accept, but it's just the truth. And I think the sooner that you accept that truth, the sooner that you'll be able to go through your unexpected pregnancy not being depressed, at least. But that's easier said than done, because for the first probably 7 months, that's probably like my whole pregnancy right there. But for 7 months, y'all, like, I was depressed. I was scared. I was anxious. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know the type of mother that I was going to be. I didn't know the type of father Justin was going to be. I didn't know what to expect in labor and delivery. There was just so much that I was just like, I am not ready. I wasn't ready physically. I wasn't ready emotionally. I wasn't ready mentally. I wasn't ready in any way to be unprepared. I was unprepared in all of them. I tried my best. I really, really tried my best to get rid of my depression, to actually enjoy my pregnancy, to not hold resentment to the situation or to my child, because it wasn't Ace's fault. Again, it was not his fault. He didn't ask to be here. But it sucked, because even though people say pregnancy is supposed to be the greatest time of your life and you just feel so great and so powerful because you get to bring life into this world and you feel all the kicks and all the da-da-da, and I'm like, I'm not feeling any of that. I'm not feeling the joy. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling excited. I'm not, like, what? And it felt like I was supposed to feel those things, but I never did. And a part of me felt, I don't even know. A part of me felt like I wasn't normal, maybe, because I wasn't feeling those things, because I was sad and depressed a lot of the time. It felt kind of like I was, I don't want to say ungrateful, but maybe ungrateful, like people who struggle with infertility, who wish and long for a child so bad and can never get one. And I have one. I didn't even try, and it's like, now I feel this guilt because I feel depressed and not happy. And there are people out here who are struggling to get pregnant, who want to get pregnant, and they never will, and there's, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. There's just so many layers to this. So yeah, those are just kind of like the feelings and the emotions that I felt and that I had during my pregnancy. And it was just very hard to navigate. It was hard for me to navigate. It was hard for Justin to navigate. Now, granted, I have to give Justin his flowers. Like, he really tried so hard to make me happy. He really did everything that he could to try and make my pregnancy comfortable, to try and make sure that I knew he was there for me, to try and make sure that, like, I wasn't alone. He got me a journal to write in, which I literally never wrote in because I was depressed. Sorry, babe. He got me a journal to write in. He got me like these doula cards to like help prepare me mentally. He just tried everything that he could to pull me out of that dark place. But it was hard because I was grieving. My old self, and I was grieving all of the things that I would never get to do, and I was grieving the life that I would never get to have, and it was hard. Again, like, that's just the one word that I can say is it was just hard to navigate. It was just difficult. It was uncharted territory for the both of us, and he couldn't really understand. He's like, are you saying that you don't want to have this baby with me? And it was never that. It was never that I didn't want to have this baby with Justin. It was just I didn't want to have this baby in general. Like, this was not on my bingo card for the year. This was not the plan. Like, it was just hard to accept. So like I said, I went 7 months practically with just like going through the motions, acting happy, pretending like I was good, but I really wasn't good. I was really just scared. I was still depressed and grieving my old self, and I was still, just trying to make it. But I think when you get to a certain amount of weeks, probably like 30 weeks, when your baby is about 2 months away, you start nesting and you start preparing for your child, and those are just your motherly instincts kicking in. And I think that once those kind of kicked in for me and I realized that like I'm less than 2 months away from my new reality, it's either now or never. Like I have to accept it now or I'll never accept it and I'll always resent this baby. It was then where I kind of just like switched gears and I started, making content again. I started making content around my belly and like clothes, putting clothes on my belly, like dressing my belly and things that I had never done before, and it felt good, even though it was just for the last part of my pregnancy, even though it was just like those last 6 to 8 weeks that I felt like that. It was nice to finally embrace the baby that was in my stomach, to look forward to feeling him kick me during the morning and the night, to look forward to putting on a nice dress that would show my belly off, like it had been a long time coming for me to get to that point where I like fully accepted where I was at, and I loved it and it was beautiful, and I wish that I could have accepted it sooner, but that just wasn't my story. It wasn't meant for me to go through my pregnancy all happy and lovey and excited for the future. It was meant for me to go through it scared and anxious and depressed, and it just is what it is. Like that's a time in my life where I wish that it could have been different, but it just wasn't. And I've accepted that it wasn't. I've accepted that this has been very not normal. Like it just hasn't been a normal journey for me to get here. But when I tell you, I'm going to cry. When I tell you I am so happy now to be a mom. I am so happy that I have Ace, that God chose me to be his mom, even though I wasn't ready. Like God felt like that I was ready, and he knew that I needed Ace more than anything in the world. And I look back at that video of that scared I don't want to say little girl because I was 26 years old, but I look at that video of that scared little girl who had no idea what was growing in her womb, who had no idea the life that she would bring into this world, who had no idea how much life that baby in her stomach would give back to her. I just want to hug her and like tell her that it'll be okay, It sucks. I hate that I ever thought to get rid of my child. I hate that I ever thought that I would never be able to be a mom. I hate that I thought that my life would be horrible with a child, because that's just not the truth. But until you get to the point where you realize that like it's not all bad, you're always going to think it's all bad because you've never been in this position before, And like I said, it was scary, and it was just the the hardest thing that I've ever gone through in my entire life. But I would do it all over again if it meant that I got to have this beautiful little boy who is literally the light of my life. So I guess the one thing that I want to leave you guys with, especially if you are dealing with an unexpected pregnancy, especially if you are having thoughts of abortion, I just want you to know you will never regret having your baby. But you will always regret, and you will always think about the what ifs if you decide to get rid of it. And that's just the honest truth. Like, I'm being so real with y'all. I know some people might not agree with that. Some people might really not want to be mothers. Some people might really don't want to be pregnant. But if you're that person that was like me and you were on the fence and you are unsure of what to do, you don't know what the future holds, you're scared, you're terrified, like, I'm telling you, you will never regret having your baby. I promise you. I promise you. Like, I don't want to get emotional again, but like, I'm talking to someone on the other side of this screen, someone who may be struggling with abortion, with thoughts of abortion, who maybe is scared, who maybe doesn't know what the future holds. Like, I am talking to you. You will never regret having your baby. Ace is the biggest gift in my life. I love him so much. Even though I was so scared and so nervous about what the future would hold, he is the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I cannot even remember what life was like before he was here. I cannot even remember what life was like before seeing his precious little smile, hearing the cutest little laugh. Like, babies are a blessing for a reason. Even though sometimes we have babies outside of the wedding covenant, and outside of that, babies are still blessings, and nothing in your life is happening on accident. Everything has a purpose. God has a plan for everything. And even though you might feel the shame because you're not married, even though you might feel like people are going to judge you, whatever the case may be, your baby won't. Your baby will think you are the most amazing person in the entire world. And it is just going to melt your heart every single time when they look at you in your eyes and you see nothing but unconditional love. So, anyways, I think I'm going to end the episode here. Sorry for getting a little bit emotional. I don't know if I said everything I should have said, but hopefully my story has kind of helped you some way in your own life. I don't know. I just try and do my best. That's all I try and do with the podcast, honestly. Yeah, I had never shared my thoughts and my feelings and my experience with being pregnant unexpectedly and struggling with thoughts of abortion and, dealing with that reality. Like, literally holding the pills in your hand, and like, all it takes is you putting them in your mouth and drinking some water, like, it could have been that easy. It really could have been that easy. But would it really have been easy? Would it have been easy when I was cramping up and bleeding for days and days? Would it have been easy when I would think about what if? Would it have been easy if I think about being a murderer? Like, those are very extreme things to think about, but those are all thoughts that I think are very normal for people to have when it comes to things like this. So I don't regret my decision, not one bit. I love Ace. I love my life. I love Justin. And everything worked out in the end. And I know that is not everyone's story. Everyone doesn't have this perfect storm of a situation to where you get pregnant by the right person and you get a house together and you move in and you have this beautiful life and they take care of you. I know that's not everybody's story. And I know that there are a lot of other external factors that can make this decision 10 times harder than what I had to go through. Trust me, I acknowledge that. Everyone doesn't have a man who is willing to go through the hard times of pregnancy with them. Everyone doesn't have a man who is willing to provide for them. Everyone doesn't have the means to get a house, to make sure that their baby is fed, to make sure that they have diapers and wipes. Like, I get it, y'all. Trust me. I understand. And I'm not doing this episode to try to deter you one way or the other. I just want to make it known the realities of what women in this situation deal with and struggle with, in hopes that you can extend them some grace, extend them some help. And if it's you in this situation, give yourself some grace. Like, I just really want you guys to know that it's really not all bad. Being a mom is not all bad. Like, it's hard, don't get me wrong. It's hard, but it's not all bad. And like I said, you'll never regret keeping your baby, even on the days where you don't have a place to live, even on the days where you don't have enough money to get them formula, even on the days where you feel like you're at your wit's end. I promise you, y'all, you will never regret having your baby, and having them there with you will just make it that much more better. You won't be alone. You'll never be alone if you have a baby. So anyways, yeah, I had to put that in there because I know that not everyone has the perfect storm of a situation to where everything works out and everything is great. Like, I get it. And at the end of the day, it is your decision. And that's the beauty of it, is nobody else gets to make the choice but you. And only you know what you're able to deal with and battle through, you know? All right, I'm really going to end the episode now. I love you guys so much. I hope this episode helped you. I hope this episode, I don't even know. This was just me sharing my very raw emotions with you on the anniversary of me finding out that I was pregnant. So anyways, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to me ramble about my life. If you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a nice little review. Give me a comment. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to you in my next episode. Bye.